Hi everyone, welcome to episode 180. Today, I'm going to give you a bit of a new twist on a hypothesis that has to do with exercise. Now stay with me. Stay with me on this because there's something that is relatively new and I think really important to add to the conversation. Like you, I am really tired of study after study after study coming out saying exercise is good for you and do this and do that and arguing over how many minutes are better for this, that, and the other thing. It's fine. We all know exercise is good for you. However, this new hypothesis is called the Active Grandparent Hypothesis. Now, maybe some of you have heard it. It's been on the news for the last week or so. It builds on an older hypothesis that I studied way back in the dark ages when I was in university. My degree is in anthropology, so studying the behavior of people was right up there with some of the more interesting classes that I took. One of the hypotheses that we looked at that time was called the active grandmother hypothesis. What that means is that in order to have mothers continuing to have children, they needed help. So the hypothesis was that when grandmothers were active and helping after their own menopause and they were no longer having children, when they were helping their daughters and daughters-in-law with raising the children, it took some of the stress off the young mothers and allowed them to have more children, which was, of course, ultimately thought to be good for the population. This new hypothesis builds on the active grandmother hypothesis and includes the male gender as well. Active grandparent hypothesis. Now, it does talk about exercise as a very important component, and one of the things that it does note is that exercise, as we all know, is good for absolutely everybody, but the one thing that it stresses that I don't think we've heard quite so loudly and clearly is that exercise creates what is known as positive stress on the body. Positive stress, you can think of that when your bones and muscles are aching because you've exercised something that hadn't been exercised before. But this positive stress leads to repair and renewal of cells. That is its job, positive stress. Now, let me be clear. That does not mean doing silly things with your body that aren't approved by your doctor or that hurt in a way that shouldn't hurt you. You've got to build up to these things. But the fact that you're moving, the fact that you're stretching further than you may have stretched before is the positive stress that we're talking about. So you want that to create that repair and renewal of cells. Here's the thing that is so fascinating about this new hypothesis. It suggests that when your body is busy exercising and renewing and repairing, it can't at the same time pay attention to the negative pieces of the aging process. So energy spent exercising is actually diverting exercise away from aging. Now, if that doesn't get you off the couch and out there walking, I don't know what will. Isn't that fascinating? It makes sense though. You know, our brain can't think two things at the same time. Yes, we can multitask and have different channels going on at the same time, but we can't actively do two things at the same time. So your body, if it's paying attention to positive repair and renewal, cannot also pay attention to aging processes. Do you love that? I absolutely love that. Now, in terms of how much time you have to spend, any amount of time spent exercising is good. So there is no excuse not to start. I think, most theories go with the standard that has been around for a while of 150 minutes a week of exercise is good for you. You can work up to that. If you are somebody who has been something of a couch potato by design, or maybe something happened. Maybe you broke your leg and you've got to get up and get back into it. Just move. It is a gift to be able to move your body. And if you can move it for however many minutes a day you can. Do challenge yourself to work at it more and more, and work up the amount of time, work up the amount of distance you're walking, move up the stress that you're doing. If you've got cans of soup or whatever at home, and use those for weights. We talked about that before. You don't have to have fancy equipment. In fact, I bought a skipping rope, and I waited a really long time for it to be delivered, because during the pandemic, exercise equipment was hard to come by. So I put this order in, and it was literally months. And the skipping rope arrived, and I thought, oh great, now I can skip. Well, a friend of mine who is a trainer said, you don't have to have a skipping rope in order to do the skipping motions. You can still kind of hop up and down, which made me feel silly. But it's true. Who wouldn't have thought of being able to do it that way? Or who would have thought of being able to do it that way, I guess, is the more appropriate thing to say. But that is absolutely 100% true. You don't need fancy equipment. In fact, you don't need equipment at all. Just move. And while you're doing it, remember that you're helping your body renew and repair instead of age. That's your happy message for today. All right, everybody, I will see you next Wednesday at 12 noon. Until then, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Be well. Bye.